Thank you for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. My name is Graham Wren, and with me today, instead of our usual Kevin Knight, we have Anthony Winter out of the Cleveland area and representing Sandbox Volleyball. How you doing today, dude?
Graham, doing well, doing well. It's Friday, so never bad. How are you?
Dude, I'm good. We kind of had a long day at work and ready to be done. So
Always fun.
yeah, absolutely. So you guys got a nice little tournament going on up in Chaos territory. And what town is it out of Ohio exactly? It's like Loveland, Ohio.
Loveland. It's Loveland, so it's like I think it's like 20 minutes outside of Cincy, like in that area. But yeah, Grand Sands is always a good time. I love Grand Sands.
Nice. Yeah, dude, you got a nice little like small to mid-sized tournament going on. Would have been cool to get 16, but I feel like a 13 team tournament is nice and cozy, and you might be out of there, 4 or 5 p.m. hopefully.
Yeah, that would be ideal. We got that long drive up on Saturday night. We got a bunch of clinics on Sunday, so love to be out of there by 4 and home by like 8, but who knows? I mean, it's volleyball, so you never know when you're gonna have 15 straight 3-set matches that end up taking like an hour instead of 45 minutes or something.
Yeah. Yeah, especially this one. It looks like there might be a lot of fun matchups to dive into as we go along. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you think on these teams that I've never really seen before. So without further ado, in our first match, we're in the round of 16 now. The 8 versus the 9. We have Greenfield and Wilson against Gustafson and Curry.
Yeah, so Joel Greenfield's kind of I don't want to say a transplant. I think he's from like the California area, and he just moved up to Dayton for his job. So he's played the last couple of chaoses, and he's a baller. I mean, he's a smaller guy, but he jumps so well. And Seth is just super clean, has most of the shots, and just makes people work. I got to see Abel last tournament. He can beat some balls. Don't know Adam super well, but Joel and Seth's just going to be a fun team to watch. Seth is just super clean, and Joel is incredibly physically gifted. So like between those two, it's like polar opposites almost, and
Yeah.
they're going to be awesome to watch. I'm going with definitely Joel and Seth on that
Okay.
match.
Gotcha. So Greenfield left California for greener pastures. I like it. They're gonna win
exactly.
9. All right. It's a strong start. Next, we got 5 versus the 12. Haas and Haggerty against Robertson and Kaiser. What are the chances we can see a classic, 5-12 upset here? Or you think we're just dreaming?
Yeah, no, I don't think in this 5-12. Haas and Haggerty are super clean and just don't make many errors at all, if any. I mean, it's just one of those like they're 18 and they started playing at like 15, 16, where it's like we're going to control the ball super well and just extend rallies. And I don't know Robertson that well. I know Kaiser a little bit, but I just think Haas and Haggerty are way too clean to take an upset in this round.
Gotcha. It's funny you say that because that's kind of crazy to be talking about some youngsters like that, at only at the age of 18 and playing just crazy, clean, disciplined ball. Like I think from our area, from the Virginia Beach area, we had like I've seen one team like that, and this was back when they were closer to that age, and it was Bryce Ernsberger and Brett Rosenmeyer who played super clean and didn't lose to like teams worse than them, but were kind of fighting to get over that hump. But it's rare to see teams like that.
I mean, honestly, because I played Rosie back when he was playing with Colton Cowell when they did the Hawaii thing. Like, I mean, they're kind of like that extent. Like Rosie was just super clean. They're just less physical and less big than Rosie, but like, yeah, it's kind of like that. And it was like you said at that age, because at that age, it's all about just being clean and letting other teams make errors. Because at 18, it's like if you keep the ball in play, somebody's going to eventually make a mistake. So they just kind of let other teams err. And then as teams get more, I don't know, more physical and more gifted, like you can't just let them air out anymore because they stop airing out and you just gas yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll give the youngsters the nod here. Strong start for them. Next at the 4 and the 13, we have Sand and Titus against Weaver and Smith. I think you were saying that Sand and Titus are another group of youngsters, right?
Yeah, Sand, I believe, is also right around that age group. They're all Sand, Haas, and Haggerty are all right around 18. I don't know exactly how old they are. Titus is, I think, 21 or right around that age, 20, 21. So just that whole group. It's just the youth of the tournament. I'm definitely going. Trey Smith, I actually think is like 20 or 21 as well, just turned or something in that range, but he hasn't played a bunch of tournaments. Just Sand and Titus are gonna, I think, roll in this one. I don't know Weaver very well, but Sand and Titus are pretty clean. I saw Titus last week down in New Orleans. He's playing some really good ball, and played him 2 weeks ago in Louisville. And yeah, he's looking solid. He's got the flow going, so his game's just stepped up to another level, you know.
Yeah, but when you say flow, do you mean
The
his
hair.
hair?
Yeah, the hair.
Gotcha. Does he just kind of let it all hang out, or maybe ponytail,
He
bandana?
has
What's he doing?
he hats it, and then it just sticks out the bottom. You know,
All right, I
the
gotcha.
classic beach look.
Gotcha. All right. Big shout out to this guy, Anthony Winter and Joel Feldkamp, getting their bye through the round of 16. Just want to briefly mention it and give you a shout out. So I'll take you on that one.
Glad we can take the bye game.
Yeah, exactly. At the 6 and the 11, we got Bojanic and Powers against Schuler and Price.
So Powers and Schuler on opposite sides of the net are two people you never want to meet in the very first game. Powers is just otherworldly, like probably one of the better volleyball players that I've ever known in terms of indoor. And like then he came out to beach and he's just so physical. He can play basically indoor volleyball in beach. Like he's unbelievable. Hits so hard, gets up pretty well, just has lanky arms, but he gets a little bit tired sometimes, just cramps out, stuff like that. And then Schuler is an older guy who's just remarkable. Like he won a lot back when he was playing. I mean, he's a little bit older now, so he's not as physical, but he's still pretty clean. And especially in that first match when he's fresh, like it's interesting. He's very loud too. Gets in a lot of people's heads. But I think Powers and Bojanic are just too good in the side out.
The power of Powers will not be denied.
Exactly. And Bojanic's like, I don't know, he's probably like 6'3", but he's might be like a $150, like maybe 160, like on a day he's feeling a little heavier and just jumps out of the gym. I mean, it's not a gym, I guess we're in the sand, but like just soars, he flies. So like that team side out is just, if they're passing well, it's going to be tough to beat them.
Sure. I know Kyle Price a little bit, and Kyle Price from time to time back in the day was known to just kind of go off and at times seem untouchable, and that might be the one way that they can take this match. But I think I gotta stick with your pick, and we'll go with Bojanic and Powers. Next,
fun one to watch. That's sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Price will be fired up for sure. Next, we got is it Pieper or Piper?
I believe it's Pieper.
Pieper. We have Pieper and Quelke against Ankney and Fortman. And if I'm butchering any of these names, please correct me so I don't continue to butcher them.
I guarantee that I probably butcher half of their names too, which I feel bad about.
Yeah.
But so this will be I was saying earlier, I feel almost like legally obligated to be on here. Like I got to pick one upset. I think it's going to be Ankney Fortman here. I played them. I feel like in every single tournament I ever sign up for, except for this one, I play them in the first 2 rounds. So don't have to play them in the first 2 rounds this time. That's great. But like, they're really clean, especially early on in the day. I feel like you'll see a lot of like the mid teams or the lower seeded teams, like they'll come out and they'll play 1 or 2 solid matches, but they'll just gas out a little bit. They're kind of in that similar, if they're not taking care of themselves or they're not getting rest, they have to play a couple back-to-back. That's where they start to falter. But man, Fortman's playing lights out. Ankney's also playing really well. Like I said, I feel obligated to pick at least one upset. So this has got to be the one. Okay. Pieper and Quelke are also very, very good volleyball players. So it's going to come down to if Ankney and Fortman make a couple adjustments and figure them out some. But I'm going to go with them for my upset.
Okay, I like it. Because truth be told, I think 9 over an 8 doesn't even count as an upset anyway.
Yeah, so. No, it's like the same team playing each other basically.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that's the first round of games. Second round of games, we have John Drake and Evan Corey against Greenfield and Wilson. Any chance your boy from California can take these guys down, or do we need to stick with Evan and John?
Uh, I mean, I'm going to stick with Evan and John, but Seth actually played Evan and Logan pretty well 2 weeks ago at the chaos they had. It was Seth and another partner, but played him pretty well. He does a good job of mixing up whether he's peeling, staying, stuff like that, and can kind of bait some people into some weird shots. And he gets a lot of weird digs and weird pokes. Like
Yeah.
that's just, I feel like that's when I play Seth. That's what happens. Like weird plays happen and the points fall for him. Like, so I think they'll keep it pretty close. A lot closer than a lot of people I think are expecting. But like, I like this game. It's going to be a fun game, but I'm going with Drake and Evan. Drake
Okay.
played remarkably 2 weeks ago as well.
Gotcha. So you think with that being said, you think teams will go after Drake, or do you think teams will tempt fate and go after Mr. Corey here?
Uh, I don't know. I think it's going to kind of match up who they want to play against. Like, do they want somebody that they think is going to get up and be physical and beat, or do they want somebody that they think is going to maybe look it down a little bit more? Which this is just a shot in the dark, but I mean, Drake's got a little bit more experience. They might think he's going to shoot a little bit more and look it down a little bit more. Find the open court where they think Evan might just get up and swing at some balls, even though Evan is also incredibly intelligent, looks it down and makes those same plays, but it's just the perception of the youth. So I guess it'll depend what people want to play against.
Gotcha. I had the pleasure of playing Drake and Feldkamp when they came down to Virginia Beach back in like February. So I got to see John's game up close a little bit, and you're absolutely right. The dude moves the ball around the court very well. Getting a read on what he's doing does feel like a shot in the dark at times.
He's the most deceptive blocker I think I've ever played against. Like I just don't see him, and then all of a sudden he appears, and his hands are somewhere where I completely thought that like I saw him 2 feet away, like a foot earlier, and I don't understand it sometimes. Like I'm like, you weren't there, you just teleported, like somehow completely avoided my entire vision, and now I'm getting housed. Like it's great.
Yeah. Okay. I think with all that being said, I think we'll go with Drake and Corey here. We'll give the 1 seed the nod, as much as we might like to pick an upset this round. Next at the 4 and the 5, we have Haas and Haggerty against Sand and Titus.
Yeah, average age of like 18 and a half, I think, in this matchup. So gotta love that. Feeling old. I've played Haas and Haggerty a bunch recently, and like I said, they're that just super clean. They're going to dig a lot. They're going to put it over. They're going to try and put you out of system, but they're just not going to. I feel like they're not going to play over aggressive to look to score those points. Haggerty will swing a little bit more, but Haas is just going to work you, and I think they're going to go at Haas a little bit and just kind of play it a little bit, just scrappy back and forth. But I think Titus has a little bit more of that aggressive edge,
Okay.
and that'll just kind of push the scales in their way a little bit. Like I said, just that little bit of extra aggression and extra kind of go for it. I guess it could come back to bite him if he's not playing super clean and makes a couple of errors, but I just don't see that happening. So it's always fun to watch the Sands versus Haas and Haggerty, because I'm pretty sure they're all like either within a grade or like 2 of each other, and they all grew up in Cincinnati and they're all the Young Bucks. So it's like it always feels pretty fiery when they're playing each other.
Yeah. Is it all love, or is there a little bit of beef there as well?
I don't know them that well to say. It seems like it's all love, but I mean, it can be all love between people, and sometimes you still get a little bit annoyed, something like that.
No, for sure. It can be all love off the court, and then a lot of beef once you step on the court.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all love with Kevin Knight, but as soon as he's screaming at you, you feel like it's an entirely different person.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. He screams so much louder than like anyone I've ever seen, and he's ready to do it at like 7:30 a.m. round 1 at Captain Bill's when he's playing some poor like 2 versus 15 seed. He goes up like 0.1 fucking strokes the ball and comes down just screaming, and these poor people's face who are like just
got every vein in his neck bulging.
Yeah.
I think it was after our last one. I was at Chaos. I walked over. I was talking to Corey, and Kevin was there, and I go, "Yeah, I figured Kevin had the 8 a.m. game." I'm like, "There's no way anybody else is getting that hype at 8 a.m. for a 4 versus a 13 or whatever round we're in, 4 versus a 29. Like,
Yeah. I don't think Kevin's ever had a problem with cramps, but if he did, I think we might see a neck cramp as like the first thing from
yeah,
all those pains going. So we're going with Sand and Titus. You think that goes 3 or think straight sets?
I think it'll go 3. I think
Okay.
it's going to be a close one in 3. The first 2 sets will be pretty close, but set 3 will probably be like a 15-12, 15-11.
Okay.
Can't wait for it to be a 2-setter, 21-10 or something like that. Now that I said that.
Yeah, that would be quite the bragging rights story to bring back to Cincinnati, I guess.
Yeah.
Next at the 3 versus 6, we have yours truly, Anthony Winter and Joel Feldkamp against Bojanic and Powers.
Man, I don't like to pick my own, but I'll just give a synopsis and you can do whatever you want with the pick.
Okay.
Bojanic and Powers, like I said, they're both just so physical and so like different play styles. That's their side out game. Like I said, if they pass well, both of them set well. So it's gonna honestly come down to like flipping 1 or 2 reels and hoping they don't get a couple of aces, stuff like that. Like their side out game, I feel like is just gonna be so clean. They had a chaos run, I think it was over winter, and they were like they were a lower seed, like a 20 or something like that. And I think they ended up making the crossover. They ended up with a 3rd. Like they play so well together.
Gotcha. Well, when I know one team and when I don't know the other, I tend to stick with what I know. I had the pleasure of playing against Joel once, and I liked what I saw. He was very physical, sided out well, moved the ball around pretty well too. Pretty good player. Maybe I don't know you quite as well, but through Instagram, it feels like I know your game pretty well. But then again, I'm only seeing the highlights. I'm not seeing the lowlights. So
lots of interesting lowlights.
Okay. All right.
Don't worry, those will be on Instagram soon enough. I'm sure that a lot of doubles thrown up there, stuff like that.
Oh, that's good. That the lowlights usually makes the quality content, I think.
Yeah, make sure you can get a full scope of my game.
Oh, so I think I will stick with what I know, and I'll pick you and Joel to win this match. I'm going to say it's tight though, especially with how much you've been hyping up Bojanic and Powers, and the fact that this is your first match of the day. So they've got not to disrespect the 11 seed and call them a warm-up match, but they've got a warm-up match going in, so like they'll be clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, Lewis trains with us some. It's always he's got a unique arm swing, so it's always fun to try and block and play against that because it's hard to read. It's something you just don't see a lot.
Gotcha.
But hopefully we've trained with him enough that we can get a good read.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say you probably move on in 3. I think it'll be tight, and if they're as good as you're hyping them up to be, I think they'll definitely take a set off you, but I think you'll find a way. Next round or next match, last match of this round, we have the 2 seed Chris Lewers and Josh Bigford against Ankney and Fortman. Think there's any way that our Cinderellas from round 1 can be our Cinderellas again from round 2?
I don't think so. I mean, Bigford is playing some awesome, like Bigford's he's a phenomenal setter for, I don't know. I just feel like when I was that age, I was still platform setting everything. I mean, he's only a couple years younger than me, but phenomenal setter, great hands, great control. And then you pair him with Chris Lewers, who is just a really good volleyball mind, also pretty good control, doesn't hand set, but has that same good, clean volleyball style. Yeah. I just don't think Ankney and Fortman are able to do a lot there. I'm interested to see how this one goes. Bigford and Lewers were supposed to play a tournament, I believe it was in February, and I think Lewers wasn't able to make it to that tournament for some reason, and it ended up being Bigford and Brandon Webb, and they ended up in the finals. Actually, this one might have been the one in September, and they ended up in the finals, Bigford and Brandon Webb versus Lehman and Bruno. So I'm eager to see what Bigford and Lewers can do, given the same set of run.
Both of them are left sides, right?
Bigford can do a little bit of right. He's been playing some right side recently with a couple of the partners I've seen him. I think Lewers will stick over on the left. Just, I guess if something goes wrong though, they can make an easy switch, but we'll see. Yeah, that's the only question mark I had, but I think Bigford can handle his own on the right side as well, especially if he's getting some nice juicy bump sets from Chris Lewis.
Chris Lewis. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think one last nugget to add. We're talking about can Ankeny and Fordham be our Cinderella team, and as cute as they might be, I think Chris Lewis's game is cuter. So
Yeah,
I think that we've got to give the edge to them.
yeah. I'm not sure if Ankeny and Fordham have played against Lewis yet, so they're in for a rude awakening of how effective the knuckle poke can be.
Yeah. You're exactly right about that. All right, so now the winners round of 4, also known as the winners semifinal. The 1 versus the 4, we have Evan Corey and John Drake against Sand and Titus. Can these youngsters find a way to take down our AVP next gold New Orleans champ, or are they just kind of up a creek here?
I think they can keep it 3, but Evan last week Evan was just lights out, and I mean he's been working so hard and training so hard. I just don't see. And let Drake, I mean, same thing. Like I said, he played the last tournament, got a really good finish with Adam Miracle. They're just both playing kind of like, I feel, really, really good ball. And I mean, not that Sand and Titus aren't, but we're talking Drake and Evan Corey, but both qualified for a main draw type high level ball. I think that's an overwhelming pair to go against. Sand and Titus can. Sand's the type of player that just all of a sudden can heat up and just do a lot of really good things. I also think Drake knows him well enough to the point that he knows how to play Sand a little bit better. And I don't know if Sand has made a ton of adjustments to his game. And I mean, he's gotten more physical every time I've seen him, but I feel like his game style and the way he plays has stayed relatively similar since the first time I played him. And Drake's the type of person that catalogs that and will have a pretty effective game plan if they decide to go at him or if they decide to go at Titus.
Got it. Makes sense. And if Drake knows that he can, someone who brings that to the table is very aware that they bring that to the table. So even if they don't go at Cosby and they decide to go at Titus, I'm sure there's a very, very good reason that they're going to be going there. So yeah, I think
exactly.
Yeah. So I think we got to stick with our guns and go with the 1 seed here. Our next round, we've got Anthony Winter and Joel Feldkamp against Chris Lewis and Josh Bigford.
Leave this one up to you. I feel like you have a fairly good scope of at least 3 of the 4 players. I don't know if you know Bigford.
I do know Bigford. I actually played Bigford first round of Big Shots like a few years ago.
I think you have a pretty good scope of all the players in that one. I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah. What? Let me ask you this: How are you and Joel splitting up blocking duties on the day?
We're gonna kind of play it by ear.
Okay.
Yeah, we discussed it a little bit. I mean, first game we'll probably split some, but if we just think someone's being more effective in one of the 2 positions, we'll probably just roll with that, or who knows. Okay. It's kind of been a play it by ear thing. All I know is he's a right, I'm a left, so that worked out pretty well, and we'll figure out earning reels as we go.
Yeah, sure. I'm torn here. I really am, because it feels like both of these teams are maybe a slight hair of a kind of like a mismatched partnership to an extent, from that standpoint, where you guys are trying to figure out your game plan defensively, and then like Chris and Josh kind of have to figure out who's going to play left and who's going to play right, and obviously good players can side the ball out from either side, and good players can convert decent opportunities, but then it's who can like capitalize on being in that uncomfortable situation better, which I think is going to end up being what decides the matchup. And I think that being said, I got to roll with my boy. I think we got to go with Anthony, and Anthony and Joel here.
Oh, well, I hope to not blow up your bracket tomorrow.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's only 2 games to that semifinal, but
Yeah. So yeah, please, whatever you do, forget about your personal goals about
it's not about me, it's not about what I want, it's about what you want and what you need. I know
correct. It's about not blowing up my bracket. So when you're in crunch time, think about it that way.
I really do this for the people, not for myself, so
yeah. So With that being said, we have our winners side of the semi. Evan Corey and John Drake, as well as Anthony Winter and Joel Feldkamp. So now we're going to go ahead and go over the contenders. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean it. Promise.
I'll say losers at least 5 times. I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah, that's a convenient stance to take for the winner semi. We'll go ahead and take.
Spent a lot of time in that losers in my first 3 years. Believe me.
Oh yeah, I think everyone has at some point.
Yeah.
First round of contenders in the 13th place game, which this is kind of a brutal spot to be in. One thing I don't love about like 13 team tournaments, 17 team tournaments, I don't love, but also I'm absolutely here for it, is that one team has to walk away knowing that they were absolutely the last place team there. Yeah, they were 13.
They are 13.
Yeah, so we have that match here. We have Smith and Weaver against Robertson and Kaiser.
So I don't really know Smith and Weaver. I just kind of know of them. I've played against Kaiser once. If he is who I remember he is quite a tall man, and that's a tough block to play around, especially if people are. Again, this is if I remember who he is correctly. He's got a little bit of doubles experience, so playing against somebody that big that has a doubles experience of how to move with the block. If Smith and Weaver are newer, I feel like they're going to have to walk away with the 13.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kaiser and Robertson. I don't know Robertson very well. I'm honestly, this pick ended up coming down to, I only know Dallas. So got to go with the one person I know, right? I learned that from my good buddy, a couple picks ago. So.
Okay. I can respect that decision a lot. And, a big presence at the net, particularly in, do or die situations, definitely makes a big difference and, puts that much more pressure on your side out. So I think I got to agree with your decision here. First 9th place game, we have Pieper and Quelke against Haas and Haggerty. Is this just going to be a rough day for Pieper and Quelke getting
That's
upset?
A brutal game. I didn't know that's how that lined up, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I love Haggerty. I love them. They're awesome players. They're really good, just really, really nice people. But I don't know how well they match up against. Actually, I do know they don't match up super well against overly physical teams. I played them in the last tournament with Logan Curlin, and they took us to 3, but they just, when a team gets to that point of physical, like it's like they're still growing and kind of growing in their bodies, and well, they're not growing in their bodies, they're still figuring out their game and getting a little bit more strength and stuff like that. Like,
I was like, how young are these guys?
No, they're not still growing. They're kind of like, they're still like getting more strength, stuff like that, and kind of developing in the sand, because they still play. I think at least one of them plays indoors in college or is going to at Tusculum. So like they still play indoor most of the year, so then they have to readjust every time come back into the sand. I just got to go with Pieper and his partner Ryan. They're both very, very physical, very physical. I think if that's Ankeny Fortman, that's a whole different matchup. But with Pieper there, I got to go with them.
Yeah,
that level of physical. I love Haas and Haggerty, but man, they just did not get a great draw in this one.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about, because you know how when you run like 24 team tournaments, and there's the team that if you manage to win one round of winners and then lose, you're playing a team that didn't win any rounds of losers.
Yeah,
you run into the same thing with 12 teams and then you have 13, but so they're basically running into the same thing, unfortunately. So huge to make it to that winners round of 4 from a
playing matches standpoint.
Yeah, and we're really seeing that here as they're getting a brutal draw on the loser side. Next we have Schuler and Price against Greenfield and Wilson.
Just got to go with Greenfield Wilson. I like that pairing a lot. I think that's going to be an interesting pairing just through the day. I think that's going to be a tough draw for a lot of people, and it's just going to be like relatively surprising one. I don't well, it's not surprising to most people, but I guess that are from this area. But they're technically we're a low seed, like 8, and I think they can make a pretty deep run in the tournament. So,
Okay.
and Schuler, I like Brady a lot, but I think I don't know if he's still fully healthy. I think he's getting to that point of getting back to fully healthy. He had a hamstring issue, I think, or a quad issue, but I like Greenfield and Wilson's game too much.
Gotcha. And especially if you're talking about like a hammy or a quad issue, like even if you get back to full health in time for the season, not having that, off season strength training and the
Training,
amount that you want, especially as you get deeper and deeper into tournaments is just huge.
Yeah.
So we're going with Ankeny and Fortman is what you said, correct?
That was Greenfield and Wilson, I thought, versus Schuler.
We were still on Greenfield and Wilson. I got you. Okay. Next match we have Robertson.
Like Ankeny and Fortman apparently already. Like
no, next match I was not picking them already. I was sorry, I got ahead of myself. We have Robertson and Kaiser against Ankeny and Fortman.
Well, I will go with Ankeny and Fortman in this one. I like them to take that. They're just, I mean, they are experienced enough. Like I said, I've played them the last 4 years, so even if it's a relatively bigger blocker, they're gonna know pretty well what to do with that. Don't know. I've seen Dallas like in a couple of twos tournaments, but I don't know how entirely mobile he is. And I feel like he plays the type of ball that Ankeny Fortman want to play. He keeps it relatively straight up on defense and doesn't do a whole lot of movement, peeling, and dive blocks. And Ankeny Fortman kind of do pretty well against that. And just as well on the other side and side out, I feel like he's kind of more of a shoot type player, sends a lot of rolls and allows Ankeny Fortman to do a lot and move around and peel a bunch, which is kind of what they want to do. They want to make people get a bunch of different looks and just capitalize on the free digs that they get, as opposed to working really hard and getting a bunch of digs and then eventually transitioning it on their 8th time over the net.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's a very in-depth analysis of this matchup. I appreciate it. We'll trust Ankeny to anchor them through this match. Next, we have Gustafsson and Curry against Bojanic and Powers. Are we sticking with your boys? Or are we sticking with Bojanic and Powers here?
Oh yeah, I got Lewis and Powers definitely in this matchup. I mean, like I said, just that side out game. Teams are going to struggle to find reels against them, and I think they turn 1 or 2 with serves, and all of a sudden it's like a 21-18, and that's if they only score points on their serves. So I see them getting a couple of brutal 21-13 set wins or 21-11 set wins just from how clean their side out is, as long as they're playing well.
Gotcha. And just to kind of highlight how brutal tournaments of this size can be for like your morale wise. I feel a lot of times in like 2014 tournaments I feel like you usually have a match against a team that you would like almost never lose to. And I feel like that's been eliminated from this tournament. Like you have Gustafsson and Curry as the 9 seed going 0-2. You had Pieper and Koelke as the 7 seed going 0-2.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much one of because that 7-10 matchup, whoever drops there is playing that 4, whoever lost the 4 versus 5 against Titus and Sands. Like it's like one of those 3 is going to be done in the 9th place round, and like all of those teams are really solid teams. It's just like that's kind of how the draw falls out. Like,
yeah. So
yeah, these are brutal tournaments. We ran one a couple weeks ago at Sandbox, and pretty much exactly what you said. There's a couple good teams you see that they get 0-2. I think Lewis was one of the teams. He went either 1-2 or 0-2 and ended up with like a 9th. And he was the number 2 or number 3 seed overall coming in. Like,
yeah, that's crazy. I know y'all have y'all have very well renowned strength at your tournaments, and I think it makes these small draw tournaments that much even more nerve wracking in my mind. Where you show up and like you might be going 0-2 just because there's no warm up game. There's
13 teams. You don't get those couple of not pick up like easier games or like you said, you don't get those warm ups, and it's just like Yeah. Especially like if you have a new partnership coming in too. Love that.
Do I need to go back? Do I need to change?
Well, to be fair, we're going up against a new partnership as well in that game that you were talking about. So
Fair.
it's you have a new partnership, you don't get those 1 or 2 games where you're like, all right, let's get our feet under us. It's like, hey, by the way, you're playing like the 4 seed right now. It's like, oh, great.
Cool.
You know?
Nice. Right. Yeah, this is what we wanted. This is how we drew it up.
Yeah.
The seventh place match, we have Pieper and Quelke against Greenfield and Wilson.
Ooh. I think I'm going with the I guess it's technically an upset. This is like the 7 versus the 8 though. So it's not really, it's like
this is 7 versus 8.
I guess it would be an upset then going with the 8 seed, Greenfield and Wilson over Pieper and Quelke. Like I think Wilson and Ryan know each other a little bit. I think just have the same friend group or maybe played club in similar schools or the same school. I don't know their backgrounds that well, I guess. But yeah, I think they can match up. They play a similar style, Greenfield and Wilson, to Haas and Haggerty, but they also are just a little bit more physical, have a little bit more height, and Joel can just fly. I mean, so I think that gives him a little bit more physical to what the last pair was doing, and when in a match that we thought was going to kind of be a push or a pretty good tight match. So got to give the edge back the other way if we're going to add in that little bit of spice to the previous matchup.
Okay, sure thing. And to kind of tack on to that, I don't think there are many people or many teams that start their day with an L and then figure a way to really turn it around. And I don't mean take an L and then figure out how to play some solid ball, but I mean like take an L and then figure out how to go beat some real high quality teams. Like that's a pretty rare quality and not something you see at a lot of tournaments. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go with the team that was able to push through their first tight matchup and then just ran into the buzzsaw of John Drake and Evan Corey. So I think I like to pick there and we'll stick with that. The other 7th place match, we have Ankeny and Fortman against Bojanic and Powers.
Yeah, I just got to go with Powers and Bojanic on that one.
Yeah. I knew what you were going to say before you said it.
Yeah. I mean, Ankeny and Fortman, they're solid, but just with the physical, like they're kind of a lot of this, I keep end up going back to like, I feel like the similar stuff, but like they have both the physical and kind of like the beach aspects, whereas Ankeny and Fortman have the beach aspects and they're just not as physically gifted as these two. So it kind of just comes down to they have that little extra edge. And I don't think that Ankeny and Fortman have that big of an edge when it comes down to the style of ball they play or keeping it a little bit more clean. I think both teams will be pretty clean in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. As a as a 6 foot tall defender, I understand all too well how difficult it gets to side out consistently pretty quickly when the physicality gets upped and precision required. It's a lot to ask. So now moving on to the 5th place match, we have Greenfield and Wilson against Lures and Bigford.
I think that one I'm just going to have to. It's going to be tough. I don't know if we'll have any upsets outside of that top 4. It's just one of those tournaments, but I got to go with in this one, Bigford Lures, just over Seth and Greenfield. I think just they play really, really. I mean, Bigford plays the type of ball that I feel like you see like somebody that's 40 or something or pushing their later years of their game plays, and he's not. He's 22 or something like that. Like it's just. So you combine that with somebody that is that young, like it's a pretty tough draw. So when you have both of those minds between Lures and Bigford, that's a buzzsaw to run into, you said earlier. So I got to just give that edge to Lures and Bigford. Hopefully they figure out that side out game and who's playing left and no issues. I think Bigford was playing right this past weekend in New Orleans. So I don't think it'll be a huge change or anything too
yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he played with Austin Banks from our Mid-Atlantic region. So yeah, Bigford would have been playing on the right, playing with Austin. So
yeah.
So,
I guess I don't know how many serves he saw in New Orleans. I feel like he just doesn't see a ton of serves, so it could just be they're relying on the fact that teams aren't going to serve him. Maybe
yeah.
they'll switch if they do. So we'll see.
Yeah, the funny thing about his New Orleans match, what Kevin was telling me, so Austin Banks is this he's there's no other way to describe him other than just like wily, like 5'10", just crazy burst of energy defender with a pretty unorthodox arm swing. And and he's the exact opposite of like some people get a little nervous and will shrink in the moment, and he's the exact opposite. He gets the moment and he just yeets it as hard as he can. So like they were
No
playing,
matter where it's going, he's sending it. Like,
yeah, a full send at all times. And so they were playing Piotr and Rafu, and apparently they started out on Austin as the smaller player, and he was just full send swinging every ball and tooling the crap out of Piotr. Because like Piotr was up there, blocking for,
blocking a 5'10" guy that he thinks is going to shoot and poke and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he was just full sending. So they ended up serving Bigford a little bit too, which was pretty funny. Pretty funny to me.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that match. I think we were playing at that point. We were playing at that point. I think I talked to Bigford right after that. So that would have been a good one to watch. There's so many good volleyball matches that weekend. That was such a fun tournament.
Yeah. So for our last contenders match, we have Bojanic and Powers against Sand and Titus, and I feel like I already know who you're going to pick here again.
Probably. I think I'm going to go with Bojanic and Powers in this one. I don't know if you were expecting me to pick that. But,
that is exactly what I was expecting you to pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a really close one, though. That's going to be a 3-setter, I think. Another could be even extra points one, just because it's going to come down to who turns those 1 or 2 reels. I feel like both of these teams are pretty solid inside out. It's just going to come down to who finds that one block, who finds an ace when they need it, who scraps that one dig over, something along those lines, or who makes that one just, bad error at a time when you can't have an error.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this. Historically, and I don't want to wish this on anybody, do Bojanic and Powers have cramping issues at all?
So I've played Powers mainly in fours tournaments where he cramps, but that's also, I feel like, a lot more jumping and beating. I feel like in twos tournaments, I don't know if maybe we get more rest, but a lot of those fours tournaments, like there's a place right by me, it's pool play, 16 pools. So you play like 5 sets of volleyball, and then you go into playoffs, which is another 10 sets of volleyball cramped into however long, and it's also fours tournaments. So how much are you hydrating that isn't beer,
Right.
How much are you hydrating and that isn't beer, and how much food are you eating that isn't pizza and salad that's provided to you? I've played in those, I've had instances of that. I don't know. I think in a tournament this size, I don't think either of them will really face any issues cramping, just because how many matches is it at this point? 3 or 4 matches to get to this point?
Something like, oh, let me pull it up real quick. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. This would be match 4.
Yeah, 4 matches. And at this point, it'll probably be close to 3 p.m. We'll start at 8. So 4 matches in the span of that's 7 hours, I think. I don't know. I'm not good at quick math when it comes to time, but so roughly a match every 2 hours. So ideally, I don't think they should have any issues with cramping. I think they'll be fine.
Okay.
We're getting to midsummer now. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like, though. I don't know if we're going to have a scorcher tomorrow or not. So.
Gotcha. Well, it's Ohio, so I think y'all should be hopefully safe from scorchers, but you never know.
Man, it was pretty toasty today. I was just coaching today for an hour, and I had a full sweat going. Disgusting. I felt gross, and I was standing there and tossing balls.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to see, right? When your coach is getting after it, that's just inspiring for the kids.
Yeah, getting after that as I'm just underhand tossing a ball. Full sweat. Where they're probably like, how out of shape is this dude? I thought he plays.
Maybe a few more cinder block jumps on your end will
Believe it or
take
not,
care of
we
that.
found a way to get a med ball, so I don't have to hold cinder blocks over my head anymore. Although it looked so cool for Instagram, probably. That's
Yeah,
what we do it for,
absolutely.
right? We do
Yeah,
it for the people, like I said, not for us. It's for the people.
yes, exactly. It's kind of like it inspires visions of like, have you seen the like African bodybuilders who don't have the weights or anything, so they're just like curling like cinder blocks filled with cement, like stacked
Yeah.
on the
Or like the Jamaican bobsled team that would practice using grocery carts going down hills in Jamaica. Like, yeah. That's like my favorite story of all time, the Jamaican bobsled team that made it to the Olympics. And the way they practiced was legitimately they got like old grocery carts and they'd push them down a hill and they'd go down a concrete hill in grocery carts to work on bobsled. Like,
I say if you feel comfortable hopping into a grocery cart going down a hill, you
yeah,
would sure as hell feel
going down a concrete hill, like you should be okay in a very protected bobsled. Like,
that's crazy. Um, all right, so we're now on to the semifinal. And we have John Drake and Evan Corey against Chris Lewis and Josh Bigford. Um, I'm gonna start with this one, and I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the volleyball mind of Chris Lewis here might be ready for a masterpiece.
he's ready for his masterpiece at his ripe age of at heart 24, you know.
Yeah. Yes, especially playing his old partner, whose game he's going to be very familiar with. He's got a pretty physical young blocker, smooth blocker, up ahead of him. It might be an interesting match because like if I kind of feel like if Chris can take Evan, out of the equation, which is no easy task to do, but like if he can take Evan out of the equation, it kind of I feel like the benefit almost switches. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll be really fun to see Drake and Lures go at it with two partners that are both younger, physical. Like I feel like I don't know if they're gonna split block or not between Evan and Drake. He's done some split blocking with some people and then he's done some just straight up defense. So we'll see.
Right.
But that'll be a really fun matchup to start with, or to start the semifinals. I mean, that's just that's going to be a barn burner. That is guaranteed barn burner right there. I'm with you. A part of me wants to go with Lures and his masterpiece right there.
Yeah.
I have a car ride back with Evan. He's got some clinics up here, so he's going to be getting ride with us, and I'm sure I'll catch a lot of heat picking against him in this one and going with Lures and Bigford, to get to that final game. I'm sure he'll let me hear about it all on the car ride back if he, watches it. So,
okay.
But I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Lures in this one.
I was going to say, if you're going to get heat for it, we have to go with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait. I love having my, predictions and projections out there in public for everyone to see so I can be wrong and people can.
Well, that's the whole thrill of this was like when we first started doing this, and frankly, Kevin was a little scared to put his opinion out there at first. And like, I was hurt and not playing. So I just kind of put my opinion out there. And when we passed it off as like, these are Graham's predictions. This is what we're doing. And
we had bakes for these hot bakes and hotter takes.
yeah, exactly. And we had this tournament where there were like six really strong teams, kind of we like to phrase it as like this is where the cliff is, right? And anyone above this cliff is not losing to anyone below this cliff. And like these are the people contending for a win. There were six teams like that, and two of them didn't have points reflecting that. So they were landmine teams, and everything aligned perfectly for regardless of how we picked any of the matches for two of them to be playing in like the 13th place game. So like a team that should be taking no less than a fifth was going to take like a 13th.
Love that.
Yeah. So we get on here, and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I love your game, but taking a 13th this time. I don't know what to tell you. So then they're like first match of the day. They're on the Wilmington Volleyball series live stream on Facebook. I'm not even at the event. First point of their match, dude goes up, bombs a ball angle, comes down, is like, fuck you, Graham. I'm not taking the 13th. Let's go. And I'm like, and that was kind of when we knew like we had something good here.
Yeah.
People were talking shit to me and I wasn't even at the event. That was great.
Did they end up taking a 13th, or was
No, we
justified in that?
no a different team ended up taking that 13th, so they powered through. All the credit in the world to them. But
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, there's probably a lot of people that love to see other people be wrong. I'm sure there's a bunch of people in Cleveland that are like, yeah, I can't wait for Anthony to be wrong. Like,
yeah, that's kind of the magic of these videos, I think.
it's not really about the bracket. It's about is I can't wait for that person to be wrong.
Yeah, and like what I started
I love it.
Yeah, what I started doing too is like if someone is really confident about because there's a lot of people who like to give a little bit of shit about it. I started being like, if you feel that confidently that I'm wrong about your match, let's bet a beer on it. And when you're right, like I'll buy you a beer. And the number of beer bets taken is a lot lower than the number of people that give me shit for my picks. So tells you.
I will beer bet anyone that wants to, as long as they're not one of the 3 18-year-olds.
Yeah, that's a good point. EVBN
I guess I'll Coca-Cola bet them. Like,
yeah. All right. And in a rematch of their very first match, we have Anthony Winter and Joel Feldkamp against Bojanic and Powers.
oh, up to you. I don't like to pick my own matches.
It's funny. I did not even remotely anticipate this coming about, this rematch happening when I was making picks. And
not only this rematch, but if you pick it the exact same way, you'll have double rematches.
Yeah. oh wow, you're wow, that's crazy. And I'm a pretty big believer in two. I don't know. When was the last time you saw two like evenly matched teams on paper play twice in a day and a team won both matches? I think it's
honestly, I don't even remember the last time I saw two evenly matched teams playing the same day.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like I don't know. It's like beating someone twice in a day is so challenging. I feel like, but then also part of me is like, well, they've had now 5 matches and you've had 2, so here's what I will say. So I
Put
think
the point on it.
yeah. So I think I gotta go with you again, just because like I can't. I gotta stick to my guns. I feel like if I pick Bojanic and Powers, that's just like cushioning my pick from your first round game, and I just can't do that. I'm
You can
good.
also text Kevin if you really want some outside input in this.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll put everyone on a. No, we're not gonna do that. That'll
You
take
can
too
just text him and see what he responds, and we'll keep going as is.
long. Okay, we'll do.
You don't have to put everyone on hold, but
Yeah.
get some outside input in this. I don't actually know if Kevin knows Bojanic and Powers that well to even give any input, but we'll see. You could also text him the finals one if you wanted to, or if you were going to stick with us, you could text him for that finals one and get his input if you're really, really feeling it.
Okay. Well, for the finals, I think at this point we have Chris Lewis and Josh Bigford against Anthony Winter and Bojanic, and I think I gotta go with Lewis, man.
I honestly, I'm not too offended.
Okay.
You're relying on Lures to bring out his masterpiece, and I remember it was 2 tournaments ago. I brought one of my friends from Cleveland. They're new to the beach doubles, relatively new to beach doubles, and we're even newer to like high level beach doubles. So I brought him down to a chaos tournament. I'm like, check this out. Like, there's a lot of good guys and girls teams there. Like, you'll be able to see a lot of high level stuff because you've only ever seen the Cleveland level, like AA, maybe at best level volleyball. So we're watching Chris Lewis and Ryan Lehman. I can't remember who they were playing exactly, but tight match. It's 20-19, set 3. Lewis and Lehman are down, and I turn to him and I go, I bet you if Chris Lewis sides out this ball, they will win this set and they'll win the match in 2. I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind. He just always has something in the back of his mind, some sort of play they're going to run, something they're going to draw up, they're going to win.
Yeah.
So sure enough, they win the point. Lewis goes back. I think it was Lewis's serve first, pops in just the softest float serve right into the seam, drops for an ace. Pops in the exact same serve on the second ball, misses the back line by this much for what would have been the 22-20 ace on the exact same serve. And they switch. They end up going back and forth a couple more points. And I think Lehman got like a swap block after they had talked about something. But after my friend afterwards was like, there's no way that like he just like that ace was kind of a freak thing. Like he popped a serve in, but there's no way he could have guaranteed that they were getting the point. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Lewis, come here. Like, so he walked over and I was like, what'd you have drawn up for those last couple points? I'm like, because I told her, I'm like, if you win this point at 20-19, that you're going to win this match. And Lewis goes, well, I noticed that so-and-so wasn't protecting their seam. And if I placed a ball slightly their side on the seam, because we'd be going at the other person the whole time, and especially if I put it shorter long and not in true seam, he's like, that it'd probably fall. And I'm like, sure enough, there's the first ace. He goes, I thought I had the second one too. He goes, I put the exact same ball, but deep to make him think about it again. He goes, missed it by that much. And then he went in depth about the other play, but it's just like Lures has that next level depth. He'll let somebody have something for 20 straight points. He's like, I'm going to let you score here for 20 straight points as long as you don't get a lead on us. He goes, point 21, I'm going to pick it up, dig it, get a transition, get a reel right at the end, and just absolutely defeat all of your feelings, just make you feel terrible for letting that reel.
Yeah, I think Kevin Knight termed that insidious defense.
Yeah,
talking about a friend of ours who kind of plays like that as well, and just essentially tries to mess with what you think out there.
Yeah,
and,
it's honestly kind of rude. Like he's like, yeah, sure, you're really good, like you're doing great, and then 2 points from the end of the set, he's like, oh, by the way, like read you like the paper back on the first point. I just wanted to let you think it was going to be close. Like,
yeah. By the way, Kevin did respond. And he said, Winterfeld camp, no hesitation. And I said, what if they play twice? And he goes, Bojanic and Powers are dangerous early, not late. So if you get the first one, I think you're going to get the second one. So we got you moving on to the finals.
Gotcha.
But I got to go with Lures in the final.
Like I said, I don't blame you. I'll beer bet you for it though.
Okay.
In the far future, whenever I come down to one of those Wilmington tournaments, finally.
Yeah, sure thing. We'll beer bet either of your potential matches with Lures here, and then we'll cash in on that when we.
Well, I think we'll beer bet the Lures match. See how it goes.
Okay. Well, thanks for hopping on, dude. It's been a lot of fun. If any of you haven't already, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button as much as I
definitely get that subscribe up. Get those 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. Hit subscribe for the matching wardrobe energy that we have going on here with the wardrobes in the back. Beautiful.
Yeah, I had to pick it up and lift it and put it there just so that we could match for this. A lot harder, but I'd seen your backdrop and I couldn't just leave you alone.
No, I appreciate the hustle.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully see you at the next one.